Giorgia Meloni is an Italian politician who has been serving as the Prime Minister of Italy since October 22, 2022, the first woman to hold this position. A member of the Chamber of Deputies since 2006, she has led the Brothers of Italy political party since 2014, and she has been the president of the European Conservatives and Reformists Party since 2020. In 1992, Meloni joined the Youth Front, the youth wing of the Italian social movement, a neo-fascist political party founded in 1946 by former followers of Italian fascist dictator Benito Mussolini. She later became the national leader of Student Action, the student movement of the National Alliance, a post-fascist party that became the MSI's legal successor in 1995 and moved towards national conservatism. She was a councillor of the province of Rome from 1998 to 2002, after which she became the president of Youth Action, the youth wing of AN. In 2008, she was appointed Italian Minister of Youth in the Berlusconi IV cabinet, a role which she held until 2011. In 2012, she co-founded FDI, a legal successor to AN, and became its president in 2014. She unsuccessfully ran in the 2014 European Parliament election and the 2016 Rome municipal election. After the 2018 Italian general election, she led FDI in opposition during the entire 18th Italian legislature. FDI grew its popularity in opinion polls, particularly during the management of the COVID-19 pandemic in Italy by the Draghi cabinet, a national unity government to which FDI was the only opposition party. Following the fall of the Draghi government, FDI won the 2022 Italian general election. A right-wing populist and nationalist, her political positions have been described as far-right, which she rejects. She describes herself as a Catholic Christian and a conservative, and she claims to defend God, fatherland, and family. She is opposed to abortion, euthanasia, same-sex marriage, and LGBT parenting, saying that nuclear families are exclusively headed by male-female pairs. Her discourse includes criticism of globalism and feminationalist rhetoric. Opposed to the reception of non-Christian migrants and multiculturalism, Meloni supports a naval blockade to halt immigration, and she has been accused of xenophobia and Islamophobia. She has blamed neocolonialism as a cause behind the European migrant crisis. A supporter of NATO, she maintains Eurosceptic views regarding the European Union, which she describes as Euro-realist, and was in favor of better relations with Russia before the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, which she condemned, pledging to keep sending arms to Ukraine. Meloni has expressed controversial views, such as praising Mussolini when she was 19. In 2020, she praised Giorgio Almirante, a civil minister in Mussolini's Italian Social Republic who produced racist propaganda and co-founded the MSI. Nevertheless, Meloni has said that she and her party condemn both the suppression of democracy and the introduction of the Italian racial laws by the fascist regime. Early life. Giorgia Meloni was born in Rome on January 15, 1977. Her father was from Sardinia and her mother is from Sicily. Her father, a tax advisor, was convicted for drug trafficking and sentenced to 9 years in a Spanish prison in 1995. He left the family when she was 1 year old in 1978, by moving to the Canary Islands. She grew up in the working-class district of Gabritella. She has a sister, Arianna, who was born in 1975 and is married to Francesco Lollobrigida, the Italian Minister of Agriculture since October 22, 2022, which was renamed the Italian Minister of Agriculture and Food Sovereignty under the Meloni cabinet. In 1992, at 15 years of age, Meloni joined the Youth Front, the youth wing of the Italian social movement, a neo-fascist political party that dissolved in 1995. During this time, she founded the student coordination Gli Antinati, which took part in the protest against the public education reform promoted by Minister Rosa Russo Iervolino. In 1996, she became the national leader of Student Action, the student movement of the post-fascist National Alliance, the national conservative heir of the MSI, representing this movement in the Student Associations Forum established by the Italian Ministry of Education. In 1998, after winning the primary election, Meloni was elected as a councillor of the province of Rome, holding this position until 2002. She was elected national director in 2000 and became the first woman president of Youth Action, the IN Youth Wing, in 2004. During these years, she worked as a nanny, waitress, and bartender at the Piper Club, one of the most famous nightclubs in Rome. Meloni graduated from Rome's Amerigo Vespucci Institute in 1996. After her election to the Italian Parliament in 2006, she declared in her curriculum vitae that she obtained a high school diploma in languages with the final mark of 60/60ths. This created some controversy, as the AVI was not a foreign language high school and was not qualified to issue a diploma in languages. Instead, it was a technical high school specialized in the tourist industry, to which she later clarified. Political career: Minister of Youth. In the 2006 Italian general election, she was elected to the Chamber of Deputies as a member of the National Alliance, where she became its youngest ever vice president. In the same year, she started to work as a journalist. In 2006, Meloni defended the laws passed by the Berlusconi III cabinet that benefited companies of the Prime Minister and media mogul Silvio Berlusconi and also delayed ongoing trials involving him. Meloni stated it is necessary to contextualize them. Those are laws that Silvio Berlusconi made for himself. But they are perfectly fair laws. In 2008, at 31 years old, she was appointed Italian Minister of Youth in the Berlusconi IV cabinet, a position she held until November 16, 2011, when Berlusconi was forced to resign as the Prime Minister amid a financial crisis and public protests. She was the youngest ever minister in the history of United Italy. In August 2008, she invited Italian athletes to boycott the opening ceremony of the Beijing Olympic Games in disagreement with the Chinese policy implemented towards Tibet. This statement was criticized by Berlusconi, as well as the Foreign Affairs Minister Franco Frattini. In 2009, her party merged with Forza Italia into the People of Freedom and she took over the presidency of the United Party's youth section, called Young Italy. In the same year, she voted in favor of a decree law against euthanasia. In November 2010, on behalf of the ministry, she presented a €300 million package called the Right to the Future. It was aimed at investing in young people and contained 5 initiatives, including incentives for new entrepreneurs, bonuses in favor of temporary workers and loans for deserving students. In November 2012, she announced her bid to contest the PDL leadership against Angelino Alfano, in opposition to the party's support of the Monti cabinet. After the cancellation of the primaries, she teamed up with fellow politicians Ignazio La Russa and Guido Crosetto to set out an anti-Monti policy, asking for renewal within the party and being also critical of the leadership of Berlusconi. Brothers of Italy. In December 2012, Meloni, La Russa, and Crosetto founded a new political movement, Brothers of Italy, whose name comes from the words of the Italian national anthem. In the 2013 Italian general election, she stood as part of Berlusconi's centre-right coalition and received 2.0% of the vote and 9 seats. She was re-elected to the Chamber of Deputies for Lombardy and was later appointed the party's leader in the House, a position that she would hold until 2014, when she resigned to dedicate herself to the party. She was succeeded by Fabio Rampelli, President of Brothers of Italy. 2022 Italian general election. Prime Minister of Italy. Government formation. Immediately after the first meeting of the new legislature, tensions began to grow within the center-right coalition. On October 13, Berlusconi refused to support Ignazio La Russa, FDI's candidacy to be President of the Senate of the Republic. He succeeded in being elected by obtaining 116 votes out of 206 in the first round thanks to the support from opposition parties to the center-right coalition. Tensions further grew, in particular between Berlusconi and Meloni, whom Berlusconi described as patronizing, overbearing, arrogant, and offensive in a series of written notes in the Senate. In the following days, after meetings between parties' leader, tensions loosened and the center-right coalition parties reached an agreement on the formation of the new cabinet. On October 20, consultations between President Sergio Mattarella and parties officially began. On the following day, delegates from FDI, the League, FI, and Civics of Italy Us Moderates MAI, announced to Mattarella they had reached an agreement to form a coalition government with Meloni as Prime Minister. In the afternoon, Mattarella summoned Meloni to the Quirinal Palace, asking her to form a new government. She accepted the task and on the same day announced the composition of the Meloni cabinet, which was officially sworn in on October 22. She is the first woman to hold the office of Prime Minister. On October 25, Meloni gave her first official speech as Prime Minister in front of the Chamber of Deputies, before the confidence vote on her cabinet. During her speech, she stressed the weight of being the first woman to serve as head of the Italian government. She thanked several Italian women including Tina Anselmi, Samantha Cristoforetti, Grazia De Leda, Oriana Fallaci, Nilda Iotti, Rita Levi Montalcini, and Maria Montessori, who she said, with the boards of their own examples, built the ladder that today allows me to climb and break the heavy glass ceiling placed over our heads. The government won the confidence vote with a comfortable majority in both houses. Political positions. Observers have described Meloni's political positions as far-right. In August 2018, Friedel Taub wrote in Deutsche Welle that Giorgia Meloni has a long history in far-right politics. In a July 2022 interview with Nicholas Farrell of The Spectator, Meloni rejected descriptions of her politics as far-right, calling it a smear campaign by her opponents. She has described herself as a mainstream conservative. Additionally, Meloni has been described as hard-right, right-wing populist, and nationalist. Meloni has been described as being close to Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary and leader of Fidesz, National Rally in France, and Vox political party in Spain, representatives of the Law and Justice Party in Poland, and the Republican Party in the United States. Meloni self-described her political party, Brothers of Italy, as a mainstream conservative party, and she has downplayed its post-fascist roots. She is in favor of presidentialism and supports the change of the Constitution of Italy. Social issues. Meloni opposes abortion, euthanasia, and laws that recognize same-sex marriage, and describes herself as pro-family. She has said she wouldn't change the abortion law in Italy but wanted to apply more fully the part of the law about prevention, such as permitting conscientious objection doctors to refuse to carry them out. She also stated that the recognition of same-sex unions in Italy is good enough, and she said it was something she would not change. In 2016, while she said she would respect the law if elected mayor of Rome, she had supported a referendum to abrogate the civil union law. At a rally at the Piazza del Popolo in October 2019, she spoke against same-sex parenting. Her speech became viral on Italian social media platforms. During a February 2016 interview to l'In, an Italian television show, she had also said that she would rather not have a gay child. She has opposed the 1993 Mancino Law, a hate speech law. She is opposed to the DDL Zan, an anti-homophobia law that would expand the Mancino law to cover LGBT discrimination, declaring in 2020 that there is no homophobia in Italy. Meloni is also opposed to surrogacy, which is pejoratively known in Italian as utero in affitto, and she has pushed in Parliament for a law to make it a universal crime. Meloni is supportive of the anti-gender movement, based on Catholic theology in the 1990s that condemns social positions not approved by the Catholic Church, including gender studies, and she is skeptical of what she calls gender ideology. She says it is being taught in schools, and that it attacks female identity and motherhood. She is supportive of changing the Constitution of Italy in order to make it illegal for same-sex couples to adopt children. In March 2018, she criticized the Walt Disney Company for the decision to represent a gay couple in the musical fantasy movie Frozen 2. On Facebook, she wrote, "Enough. We are sick of it. Take your hands off the children." Feminism. She sees feminism as an ideological tool against right-wing politics rather than in pro-women terms, and has described herself as a person for women. In her 2011 book We Believe, she wrote, "I am a right-wing woman, and I proudly support women's issues. In recent years we have had to suffer contempt and racism by feminists. Perhaps as far as feminism is conceived in this way, it is more a question of ideology than of gender and substance." She is opposed to pink quotas and has denied being anti-women as accused by some critics. Giorgia Meloni, a political philosopher and author of The Conservative Wind, said that feminationalism is working for Meloni. The likely possibility of Meloni being the first woman to become Prime Minister of Italy has been widely discussed both prior to and after the 2022 Italian general election. Some women did not see this as a victory due to her political positions, while others saw it at least partly in a positive light, and a few others called her a feminist despite Meloni's rejection of the label. Prior to the election, former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton commented, "The election of the first woman prime minister in a country always represents a break with the past, and that is certainly a good thing." This prompted a response from some critics and observers, including historians Ruth Ben-Ghiat and David Broder. Ben-Ghiat wrote, "Meloni would also represent continuity with Italy's darkest episode." For her part, Meloni declared herself ready to govern and criticized feminists. Immigration and multiculturalism. Meloni has criticized Italy's approach towards illegal immigrants, calling for a zero-tolerance policy, and she wants to blockade migrants from reaching Italian ports, and boost the birth rate of Italian nationals to ease the need for migrant labor. She is opposed to the Iuscoli immigration reform, which would give citizenship including education rights to immigrants born and living in Italy. She has linked immigration and crime, and refugee arrivals to human trafficking and prostitution. Amid the 2022 escalation of the Russo-Ukrainian war, Meloni said she supported to give refugee status to those coming from a war-shaken country but not to asylum seekers. She said, "It's time to call things by their name, to give refugee status to those fleeing war, women and children, perhaps doing the opposite with those who aren't refugees." In August 2022, she reposted a pixelized video on Twitter that shows a woman being raped by an asylum seeker. The victim of the violence decried the publication of the video and said she was recognized by the video posted. After receiving backlash, Meloni defended herself by accusing other politicians of not having condemned the rape itself. Meloni has blamed neocolonialism for Africa's underdevelopment and the 2015 European migrant crisis, and she said she favors cooperation over what she termed France's neocolonialism. She is opposed to the reception of non-Christian migrants, as well as to multiculturalism, and she has been accused of making xenophobic statements, as well as of Islamophobia. In 2018, she said she would welcome Venezuelans, saying they are Christians and often of Italian origins. She has often criticized George Soros and what she terms globalists, at times reflecting the views of Soros conspiracy theories, once saying, "When you are a slave, you act in Soros's interests." She has endorsed the Great Replacement, a white nationalist conspiracy theory. She also believes there is a planned mass migration from Africa to Europe for the purpose of replacing and eliminating Italians, an anti-Semitic, white genocide, and far-right conspiracy theory known as the Kalergi Plan. She has described pro-immigration policies as part of an alleged left-wing conspiracy to replace Italians with immigrants. In January 2017, she called immigration to Italy ethnic substitution. Foreign policy. Meloni voted in favor of the 2011 military intervention in Libya. In 2019, she criticized the French rationale for the intervention, stating it was because of Muammar Gaddafi's opposition to the CFA franc. She is critical of Italian relations with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, stating that these countries systematically and deliberately spread fundamentalist theories that are the main causes of the growth of Islamic fundamentalism. She opposed the decision to host the Supercoppa Italiana final in Saudi Arabia, and stated that Italy should actively raise the issue of human rights in Saudi Arabia. Meloni advocated for the expulsion of the Indian ambassador to Italy as a result of the Enrico Lexi case, and she urged Alessandro Del Piero to refuse to play in the Indian Super League until the detained Italian Marines were returned. Following the Asia Bibi blasphemy case, Meloni criticized what she called the silence of the West and advocated a stronger stance by the international community against human rights violations in Pakistan. Prior to the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine, Meloni was in favor of better relations with Russia, and she congratulated Vladimir Putin for his re-election as president in 2018. In her 2021 biography book I Am Georgia, she wrote that Russia under Putin defends European values and Christian identity. She has since condemned the invasion and pledged to keep sending arms to Ukraine, and moved towards Atlanticism. She is supportive of NATO, although she maintains Eurosceptic views towards the European Union, having also previously advocated a withdrawal from the Eurozone. She rejects the Eurosceptic label, favoring the Euro-realism of a confederal Europe of sovereign nations. A critic of China, she is a supporter of closer ties between Italy and Taiwan. She is a controversial figure in Croatia due to her Italian irredentist statements in which she claimed Dalmatia and Istria, and for being opposed to Croatian entry into the European Union due to the unresolved dispute concerning properties of exiled Italians after World War II from these two Croatian regions. COVID-19 pandemic and vaccines. Meloni has exhibited support for vaccine hesitancy, such as not vaccinating her daughter during the COVID-19 pandemic in Italy because it's not a religion. She has been criticized due to her statements on vaccines and COVID-19, stating the probability of someone aged 19 dying from COVID-19 was the same as being struck by lightning. After her party won the 2022 Italian general election, they pledged to review the positions taken by the Italian government during the COVID-19 pandemic and end the COVID-19 vaccine mandate in place for healthcare workers. Relationship with fascism. Meloni has expressed statements that generated controversy. In an interview to the French newscast Soir 3 when she was 19, she praised Italian dictator Benito Mussolini as a good politician, in that everything he did for Italy, and as the best politician of the last 50 years. In January 2020, there was some controversy after Meloni and the Commune of Verona supported naming a street after Giorgio Almirante. Meloni and the Commune also supported giving Liliana Segre, a Holocaust survivor and senator for life, honorary citizenship. Segre said that she and Almirante are incompatible and the Commune had to make a choice. In May 2020, Meloni praised Almirante as a great politician, as well as a patriot. He was the co-founder of the Italian social movement, who had a long post-war political career until retiring in 1987. During World War II, he was a wartime collaborator as a civil minister of the Italian Social Republic, a Nazi puppet state, as well as editor-in-chief of the anti-Semitic and racist magazine La Difesa della Razza, which published the Manifesto of Race in 1938. As a minister in 2009, Meloni visited Yad Vashem in Israel, and she has also said as FDI party leader that her party handed fascism over to history for decades now, and it unambiguously condemns the suppression of democracy and the ignominious anti-Jewish laws. The independent journalistic TV program Report revealed through an investigative report published in December 2020 that her party has reached the negative record of arrests for mafia group 'Ndrangheta, and also having among her ranks Mussolini's descendants, as well as fascist nostalgics, according to a 2021 investigative report by fanpage.it. In November 2018, Meloni declared that the celebration of the Liberation Day, also known as the anniversary of Italy's liberation from Nazi fascism on April 25, and Festa della Repubblica, which celebrates the birth of the Italian Republic on June 2, should be substituted with the National Unity and Armed Forces Day on November 4, which commemorates Italy's victory in World War I. She said that Liberation Day and Festa della Repubblica are two controversial celebrations. Meloni has tried to distance herself from her close ties to Roberto Gianghai Lavarini, a far-right Milanese politician and entrepreneur known as the Black Baron. After the formation of FDI in 2012, she decided to add the tricolour flame to the party flag, a neo-fascist symbol associated with the MSI, which derived its name and ideals from the RSI as a violent, socializing, and revolutionary republican variant of Italian fascism established as a Nazi German puppet state by Mussolini in 1943. The tricolour flame is said to represent Mussolini's remains, where a flame is always burning on his tomb in Predapio. Heading into the 2022 general election, Segre told Pagan Ebraic that Meloni should remove the tricolour flame from the party's logo. FDI's co-founder Ignazio La Russa rejected this view, and Meloni ignored the request, keeping the tricolour flame. Observers, including historians Ruth Ben-Ghiat, David Broder, and Lawrence Bertrand Dorliac, said that Meloni and FDI have been ambiguous about their fascist past, at times rejecting it and at other times minimizing it, and that this has helped to rebrand both herself and her party. Responding to the 2021 fanpage report, she minimized the investigation and refused to remove openly neo-fascist members of FDI. In December 2021, FDI's Alfredo Catapano and Luigi Rispoli were among former MSI members who did a Roman salute, which was condemned by the ANPI. Rispoli told Fanpage, "I believe in the new right and in the efforts Giorgia Meloni is making in Brothers of Italy. It makes me wonder, frankly, this clamor." Shortly before the 2022 general election, she sacked a member that openly praised Adolf Hitler. FDI had also distanced itself from the Ascoli Piceno party section after it celebrated the anniversary of the March on Rome in 2019. Personal life. Meloni has a daughter, Ginevra, with her partner Andrea Giambruno, a journalist who works for Silvio Berlusconi's Mediaset TV channel. She has said that she is a Catholic Christian and has used her religious identity in part to help build her national brand. In a 2019 speech to a rally in Rome, she said, "I am Giorgia. I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm Italian, I'm Christian." Despite her Christian beliefs and championing traditional family values, Meloni defended herself not being married to her child's father. In September 2022, she reportedly continued to embrace the old Italian fascist slogan God, Fatherland, and Family. She has said she resents being linked to Italy's fascist past. Meloni is an avid fan of fantasy, particularly J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. As a youth activist with the Italian social movement, she attended the Camp Hobbit Festival and sang along with the far-right folk band Compagnia dell'Anello, named after the Fellowship of the Ring. Later, she named her political conference Atreju, after the hero of the novel The Never-Ending Story. Meloni told the New York Times, "I think that Tolkien could say better than we can what conservatives believe in." Apart from Tolkien, she is fond of British conservative philosopher Roger Scruton and has said, "If I were British I would be a Tory." Electoral history. Meloni has been a member of Parliament since 2006, being most recently re-elected in 2022. First past the post elections. Meloni has won first past the post elections for a parliamentary seat in both 2018 and 2022.